Administrator Criswell.
Thank you and good morning, Chairman Murray, Vice Chair Collins, and esteemed members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today regarding FEMA's supplemental funding request and the Disaster Relief Fund. I'd like to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to the dedicated leaders joining me at this table and to the broader network of government agencies, the private sector, nonprofits, and others who partner with FEMA every day. Together, we work tirelessly to protect and assist Americans during disasters. Emergency management is built on this collaboration, and it's their partnership that is essential to the daily efforts of FEMA's workforce. Before continuing, I would like to address the recent issue about the FEMA employee who had given instructions to her disaster survivor assistance team that were completely at odds with FEMA's mission. When my senior leadership team informed me of the situation and provided me with the visual evidence that this employee had issued instructions for her team to avoid homes with a specific political affiliation, my leadership team recommended and I directed that we immediately terminate this employee, and we did. In the statement I released the same day of this employee's termination, I repeated to all FEMA employees and the American people that this type of behavior and action will not be tolerated at FEMA. We hold all employees accountable if they violate our standards of conduct. When a disaster strikes, it is collaboration that enables us to respond swiftly and effectively. This spirit of partnership has been especially crucial during the responses to Hurricanes Helene and Milton, where FEMA has mobilized over 10,000 personnel and collaborated with more than 30 federal agencies to ensure critical services and life-sustaining resources reached the hardest hit communities. For example, through collaboration with our partners, FEMA mobilized 24 urban search and rescue teams that included 1,500 personnel, 110 canines, and 90 swiftwater rescue resources to conduct rescue efforts. We also pre-positioned 9 million meals, 10 million liters of water, over 300 generators, and worked closely with the Department of Health and Human Services to deploy medical capabilities, including healthcare site assessment teams and health and medical task forces. These efforts represent the true spirit of FEMA's mission to serve and protect every community. However, we now face significant challenges due to increased disaster demands. FEMA did receive $20.2 billion in the continuing resolution, yet the DRF has been depleted to less than $5 billion as of today, due to the rising operational needs. This shortfall underscores an urgent reality. The DRF needs sufficient funding to handle the scale and intensity of today's disasters, particularly as we face the aftermath of not only Hurricanes Helene and Milton, but also the Maui wildfires and other emergencies. We have over 100 open major disasters and millions of citizens relying on FEMA's support, and our work remains vital to communities in the ongoing recovery process. The surge in demand following recent hurricanes has been unprecedented. In just 1 month, we saw over 2.4 million households register for assistance, breaking records set during previous catastrophic storms. FEMA has already provided more than $7.8 billion in federal assistance for Hurricanes Helene and Milton. And this amount includes $3 billion for individual assistance and $1.7 billion for public assistance. But these needs have rapidly exhausted our available funds, and without a supplemental, our ability to respond to new disasters could be jeopardized. Earlier this year, FEMA recognized we would need to take steps to manage the limited resources by implementing Immediate Needs Funding, or INF. This process allowed us to focus on preserving necessary funding for essential, life-saving, and life-sustaining activities, but required us to pause over $8.8 billion in funding for critical recovery projects across the country. This pause impacted communities across the country, delaying repairs to vital infrastructure and leaving long-lasting effects on communities' capabilities to build back better and stronger. And as the balance of the DRF decreases, we are again assessing whether or not we need to reinitiate immediate needs funding. Our resource needs, however, extend beyond the DRF. Programs like the National Flood Insurance Program are under tremendous strain, with nearly 74,000 claims filed following Hurricanes Helene and Milton, amounting to $843 million. I join the President and urge legislative action to stabilize the NFIP. FEMA faces increased debt and rising interest costs, which threaten the fund's long-term viability. It is very clear that the stakes are high. As our communities face more frequent and devastating disasters, they increasingly rely on FEMA and our federal partners. This is why I strongly encourage Congress to fund all agency requests, as they all support FEMA's work of helping communities recover. For instance, cuts to housing and urban development's housing assistance programs can leave survivors without access to housing and increasing sheltering costs, while reducing funding for Small Business Administration disaster loans limits our business's ability to rebuild. Such shortfalls not only strain FEMA by increasing its workload, but also create coordination challenges among federal agencies, resulting in gaps and inefficiencies in disaster response. Additionally, limited funding for mitigation efforts reduces long-term resilience in affected areas, leaving them more vulnerable to future disasters and intensifying FEMA's burden in subsequent events. The administration's supplemental request is about ensuring that FEMA, along with our federal partners, can meet the demands and provide the assistance needed. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify, and I welcome your questions.